Yes.
Right here.
You're taking a lot of crap at your council meetings.
Especially these meetings.
Come on.
That's how I'm getting Walsh. Pleasure. Good to see you again, Bob. Good to see you again as well. As we talked about, we'll see you Wednesday morning.
Yes, we did. Fantastic character.
Okay, see me down, because where he's sitting, I'm gonna move.
Yes.
Try to get you to move over here.
All right, it's 9 o'clock. Welcome everybody for coming for our, let's see, March, April, May. This will be our third Coffee with the Mayor opportunity. And if there's anything really that is off limits for discussing, unless you're asking for my social security number or something, but yeah.
It's probably already out there.
It's probably already out there, right? But, you know, a lot of good things we're doing, all the roads. It's now our second season of the winter, it's road construction. So we just accepted the award for the Fox Street, so that's that last section is gonna get done, which was, you know, some people could say it's the worst section, but I don't know if anybody remembers the old Fox between Brown and that going west of Brown, and how nasty that section was.
Yeah,
before
that's
we
been redone.
That was all redone years ago. Thank you. 5, 6 years ago, in that range.
I can remember driving a fire truck and then I thought, oh my
The
God.
potholes were huge, but you know what people would say? It makes people go slow. Because after you redid the road, they're complaining people are driving too fast.
But firstly, that does achieve an intended but positive consequence.
Right, so you always get the yings and the yangs of kind of how that goes, but I'd rather have roads that are well done than versus not well done. And I know when we started kind of the road projects, starting 8 years ago, we had a lot of red. If you look at our road map, they've got them red, orange, yellow, and green. And the red were bad, you know, that they're like way overdue. And when we had no roads budget before I got out here, we couldn't do it, we didn't have any money, right? So little by little, we've kind of added that up, and we have $1 million in the budget now. And so obviously we can plan on lots of roads, and all the red is gone, and the majority of everything is green now, which is what you wanted in your city. So I know, because I've got buildings that I've got for what I do for work, in Golden Valley, Brooklyn Center, Brooklyn Park, and Crystal. And I get some of the roads up there are just absolutely horrendous, and you drive around, you go, why can't they get their roads fixed? You know, because you drive around here and it's really nice. You know, at least in the orange sections that I know of, because that's what I really pay attention to. So that's just kind of one kind of fun thing if you paid attention to the map that they had shown, all the colors on it.
Speaking of roads, is one of the reasons I came this morning I live on Garden Court North. And it was originally 22 years, I was the first one in the block. And the road hasn't been resurfaced since then. I was wondering, what is the
Garden Court North, let me just look that up real quick, because sometimes I get so many roads.
right above Wildhurst, Elephant 19.
Garden Court North, okay. Oh, let's see here, there's Garden Boulevard, must be that.
Not far off from Saga Hill.
This is in Oakdale, like that's. Garden Court North, Mount.
Yeah, Mound, that's right.
Right, okay, yeah, that's a whole lot of new houses in that neighborhood, that's for sure. That's a beautiful neighborhood. I just live across the street, so I'll cross 19 as well. So I'll drive over there and take a peek at it myself, because that's what I always just kind of drive and kind of look at them to see if there's something that needs to get done earlier rather than later. But I'll go out and take a peek at it.
Yeah, well, as I say, it's, I don't know, is there a policy, number of years resurface, or is it just
no,
depend?
it's really about condition of the road, and so we have, all the roads have a condition index that the city administrator engineer kind of puts on the roads, and then in the beginning of spring, he gives his recommendations on the roads, and then we as a council go out and drive them all and look at what's really bad, what's not. In my business, I do commercial real estate, so I have lots of parking lots and all kinds of stuff, so I have a lot of familiarity with roads and what needs to be done. And some people have a perspective that the road needs to get done but they might have 5 others, and I said, well, these other 5 are really bad, and so we kind of went from worst, kind of working our way up, so. But it doesn't have anything to do with how long, because some roads don't get a lot of traffic, so they're
Yeah.
very
Yeah,
well.
which we don't, we're cul-de-sac.
Right.
Dead end, but after 22 years, it's beginning to show
Okay.
quite a bit of wear and tear.
Well, I'll go up and take a peek at that since you brought that up. The last time I think I was going down that road, was going up to Saga Hill with our dog and our family. We can walk down as the road comes out right
Right.
there.
You can
And then on
enter.
Halloween, going to get the candy with the kids, but then it's dark, so you really don't see anything.
Well, let me know when you're coming, we've got,
And
glad
what
to
was-
buy a cup of coffee.
And what was your address again, Garden?
1170,
11-7.
right at the end.
Okay, I will take a peek at that for sure. Well, thanks for coming and bringing that up. But that's kind of how we do all the roads kind of stuff. Worst to first, and if there's something that's different on that road that needs attention, I will definitely take a peek at that. That's what we do.
Fox Street is bad.
Yeah, well, it's so funny, because over the years, we knew that, I mean, they built it, it's a swamp, obviously, the majority of that is just kind of a road through a swamp, and so over the years, they just kept putting more gravel down, and so literally, there's some places where there's like 8 feet of gravel. But the good part about that is because there's such a great base, that with all, they actually put down the correct gravel, that it's actually cost us a little bit less than we thought to kind of get it all done, once they did all the borings. So some of them, they're, it's like this much, but then you get some that's like this much, but the goal is to kind of correct it and curb it. We never did curb and gutter ever before, but we started, like 7 or 8 years ago, so we need to start helping direct the water versus just saying we're just gonna let it go where it wants to. It costs a little bit more money, but in the end,
It lengthens the life of the road.
it lengthens life, and people's yards, have had issues, and so if we can sculpt the water down to where the sewer system is, to kind of collect it better than going to people's yards, if you're gonna do it once and not do it for 22 years later, right, you wanna do it as right the first time that you can to make sure you direct that water as much as possible to solve problems.
Speaking of that principle, doing things right the first time, and I don't mean to monopolize this meeting, I wanted to talk about the fire department.
You did?
Isn't that a
That
surprise?
is amazing.
Because the needs assessment that James did was quite detailed. And he, back on page 60 or 65.
I've got it right here. so-
It's a big read, but he gets to some real meat, not that the rest of it is not important. But the statement that caught my eye is his belief that it would be in everyone's best interest if Orono and Long Lake can agree on the ownership of Station 1, with Orono owning it, so that Orono won't proceed to perhaps build its own, which is my worry, is that we'll spend a lot of money building a redundant fire station. And failing that, he said, reach a new shared services agreement. Mayor Walsh, I haven't heard any comments that are encouraging from either city. And this disturbs me. I'm trying to get these 2 obstinate parties to settle on the ownership of the station, and then you proceed with all of the other things. But I'm very worried that along the way, certainly making a decision in the next 6 weeks before we get costs of what it might cost to rehab the Orono Public Works in lieu of owning Station 1 and remodeling. So, I strongly encourage you, and I will take the time to try to talk to Mayor Miner about the same thing, get back to negotiating. It's been going on too long. It's in everyone's best interest to get the ownership of Station 1 resolved, and then proceed with remodeling Station 1, remodeling Station 2. Drop the alternative to build your own or rehab your own public works. Mayor Walsh, I mean, that's just a starting point, and yet nobody's talking about it anymore. I would like a commitment that you will get back to the bargaining table with Long And I will ask, if not demand, the same from them. But without that as a necessary precondition, an awful lot of bad things might happen. The study that James Van Nile proposed of the remodeling costs of stations 1 and 2, and what it would cost to go it alone on a rehab or no public works, to me are necessary preconditions to moving forward. Because if it turns out that you or no, my tax dollars are gonna go pay for a redundant fire station, I mean, that I don't want to have happen. And so I strongly encourage you to go back to that. And before you proceed with decisions on June 22nd, I don't know, May 22nd, June 8th, something, I'd like to have those cost estimates, at least for the Orono Public Works, and I don't think you can get them.
We've already done that. We did that a year ago.
Well, that was a year ago. And do we recall what happened when you got estimates for the new Public Works building? By the time you got to go out for construction bids, the prices had gone up a great deal, and you weren't able to afford to put in it the fire department. So I think you need a new, refreshed, current estimate of what it'll cost to rehab Orono Public Works. And that was in James's proposal. Go get a new independent thing. Are you saying that you're not going to do that because you already think you have that information?
We've asked a lot of questions. Which ones do you want me to answer first?
Well, let's start with the
Made a lot
commitment.
of statements.
Let's start with the commitment by Orono to go back to the bargaining table with Long Lake to resolve the ownership of the station.
Yeah, I don't think we have any problem with that. We actually told Charlie and John, who were here on Monday, that once we get through taking care of all of our business that we are in the middle of right now in June or July, that to call us, and we'll be glad to sit down and start talking about stuff once we have our direction settled. And I think that's a perfect situation to be able to do that, but we're only one side of the equation. We can't, and obviously we've been working at this for 3 years now, but then we can't force them to make a decision or make a good decision. So that's part of the problem, is you have two parties.
Okay, that's a commitment I hope you make.
Yeah, well, we told them the same thing.
All right. And then number 2, you need the cost estimates. We the citizens, because we have an interest in this, need to know what it is possibly going to cost if Orono chooses to rehab its old Public Works building to turn it into a fire station. I don't believe $3 million is going to do it. I think it's closer to 5. But when we have a number that tells us what it's going to be, I would come forth and say it's cheaper to pay Long Lake for whatever, as long as it's shy of whatever it's going to cost to rehab Public Works, to go that route rather than build your own.
I appreciate your perspective on that and your opinion, but again, I can't guarantee Long Lake will make any decision, let alone a good decision. And so based on that, we are going to go down the path that gives us the most flexibility to have them give us a good option to move down that path. And we will make sure, like any good business person would do, that we have our options lined up if they don't. And that's what we're going to do.
I agree with you. And those options have a dollar sign with them. And good citizen input, good transparency of government. Transparency, good governance would say, the citizens ought to know what the cost to the alternatives would be. If Long Lake says we want $2 million, and you say that's outrageous, and the Public Works
You're
rehab is
making
going
the
to be $3
assumption
million,
that they'll come up with a reasonable answer. You're making very bold assumptions on negotiations that you have no control over.
well, I think one has.
Which is possibilities. That's the there's a lot of if-then statements that you could come up with. That's one of the if-then statements, right? So we're open to all the if-then statements, but until they come down to actually have a conversation about that, which they have not in 3 years to this day still about that station, we're not at, there is no if then to have a conversation about. But we're more than willing to
They've given
talk
you a
about it.
price, they've given you a price that they would accept, I think that's what you're referring to.
Yeah.
For the building,
What was the 1.6 million? Wasn't that an offer that they? Was that
We
an
made
offer?
an offer.
You made an offer of 1.6.
we made an offer of 1.6, which was more than the
It may very
prices
well
from
be.
either
It may
people
very
doing
well
their
be.
appraisals.
However, 1.6 million is less than 3 million, 4 million, 5 million that might be the case to rehab Orono Public
It's the
Works.
same as 2 million, almost. It's the same
1.6
as
is
1.6.
1.6 is 1.6.
Right.
So I can take a look at
But if you-
alternative one,
But if you
1.6.
don't have that option, it's irrelevant. So you have to hold all your options available, and that's what we're gonna do. And you've already said that that's reasonable, and that's what we're doing. I've already said, we're not meeting with preconditions with them again, but we've said, once we get our decision made on the direction, let's continue talking. There's plenty of time to still talk while we go through the process of finalizing the redesign and everything else. Because we need to be ready, like any good business person would be, to make sure our citizens are protected and everything is open
Where
options
does
and
the
we have that
intuition-
availability.
Where does your intuition come into this? As a good business person? Because at the last meeting, you spoke out about your intuition telling
Right, it's
you.
inappropriate to talk with you, and I'm not gonna have a conversation.
It's not inappropriate.
It is not. He's a
How is it
business owner.
inappropriate to talk
If
with
you wanna
me?
argue with me about it, that's fine, but I'm not gonna have a conversation.
Brad,
with you. You've threatened me
can
three
I
times, and I'm not
end
gonna
this
do
conversation with him and then you can do whatever you want to do? My point is that knowing what it's likely to cost, because you get a good independent assessment of what it's going to be to rehab Orono Public Works, tells you and us, the taxpayers, how much it's going to be if we have to rebuild the Orono Public Works for fire department.
And we have done that.
No, you haven't. You did it a year ago, and you don't know whether that is accurate.
Okay, well, I appreciate your opinion.
No, but you don't.
Yes, well.
Take a look at your public works estimate. You went and had a
So
bond issue.
what would you want me to do then, Jim?
Okay, what I want you to do is follow what Chief Van Isle had proposed, and that is engage independent assessors, contractors, whatever.
Okay, that's
How much
that's
is
a 4-month process
Yes,
from
and I
today.
would say we need that information before
Yeah, I
you
agree.
should be able to make a decision
Jim,
about
I appreciate
negotiating.
your opinion on what that is, but we are gonna make a decision on a direction. We believe we have enough information to make that decision, and that's why we are where we at today.
But you don't have the information input, and you haven't shared it with us.
Yes, we.
And the expert you hired, you're not even listening to.
You already knew that information because we did it a year ago.
A year is a
So
long
you
time.
can't say
in-
you know the
A
information. and tell me
year
we
is a
haven't given you
long,
information.
a year
You
is
have
a
the
long
information.
time in today's building world, and you
said
should know
estimate-
that.
You said that estimate was 3 million.
Yes.
Well, my guess would be, it's a guess,
Double.
given inflation,
Double.
which is
The
running
prices
between 5
actually have
and
come
10
down.
years.
Prices have actually come down.
I don't believe they have. I think the CPI, as well as materials, have gone up. So, let's go with the $3 million estimate of rehabbing the Public Works building to turn it into a fire station versus buying it from Long Lake for $1.6 million.
Okay, well,
What
here's
do you
the
think?
thing.
That's about $1.4 million savings to me, a taxpayer. And
Maybe, are you sure?
I think the figures you just said, you're quoting me 3 million for this and 1.6 million to buy it from.
Okay,
Long
have
Lake.
you read this whole package?
Yes, I have.
Okay, well, let's talk about some of the information that's in that package that would dispute what you're saying that may seem obvious to you, but it's actually not obvious. Okay? You
Yeah.
can,
Tell me
what does it say about the existing facility in Willow in here?
It says that it might need to be remodeled to bring it up to code.
That's the basics, yeah. What about the future of that station and what it can do and what it can't do? If you go to a duty crew, what can it do and what can it not do?
Duty crew is operating costs, labor. It is not capital expense of building brick and mortar. There's two different costs, as you would know as a real estate guy.
What did it say in here about that? Though if you read it, you should know. And if you haven't, I'll tell you what it is.
Well, tell me then.
What it tells you is that if you go to duty crews overtime, you need to have sleeping quarters and other stuff. That you'd have to add it onto that building. The Public Works building has enough space for all that stuff up front.
And do you recall
And
what the
overtime.
cost estimates for the Orono Public Works rehab? It had no talking about
I know, but the structure is already there.
No.
You don't have to build the structure, you already have it, you can pre-plan.
You can't have it both ways.
Yes,
The
you
estimate
can.
for
Yes, you can.
the construction,
See, we're
rehabbing.
thinking about the future, not just today. And we're trying to build for the future of what might be and what could be, and where the models are going, and that's what the chief talked about a little bit on Monday, and he's gonna talk about even more on this next coming Monday, about those models.
There's no information in that statement about the rehabbing costs. There is, however, a proposal to analyze what it would cost today, not a year ago.
Okay, well, you understand my perspective on that too, right?
I do, but
About the
I think
future.
you are not sharing or not willing to get the information to us, the taxpayers, so that we can make an estimate about it.
For today, I believe we have enough information to make the decision on the direction that we need to go as a city for our residents. And we can agree to disagree about that all day, and we probably come back to the same conversation about that.
So where
But
does
what I
it,
have done already, to answer your main question, is to say that, yes, we already have committed to Charlie and John, who were here on Monday, because we talked to them after, that we
You
will be
ran on
calling
the
them
meeting.
after we kind of have made our direction. We'll be glad to continue sitting down, because the conversations will continue as long as they want to have them, and they even said they might even be able to come up with a new proposal, but, you know, until they actually meet as a council to have that conversation, there are only two people.
at what point doesn't it make sense for the Orono taxpayer? 4 million, 5 million, 6 million, 10 million? When do you say, hey, let's go back and see if we can renegotiate? What's so hard about that? Those are easy numbers.
I don't need to repeat, I'm not gonna have conversations.
That's a really good question. At one point, does it cost too much?
I'm not gonna talk to you of a lawsuit, I'm not gonna talk to
So
you.
what? I'm a resident of Orono. I'm tired of you wasting my money. Your intuition got us an $18 million public works building that was supposed to be a lot less that you claimed, and now we're going down the exact same road. Right here, intuition, that's what you said last week, is the cost, you know the cost because of your intuition. Well, how much is your intuition gonna cost us again? And you can sit there with your belly sticking out and all that, looking angry and not answering me, or you can talk to the people of
I don't
Orono.
hear a word you say, so,
Really,
because you're not.
really, you don't hear a word I say.
No, I don't. And I'm
How is
Council
that?
elected
Yeah, he is my
So
elected
So
official.
if we wanna end this, we can end this now, or does anybody have stuff
That's
they
a
wanna talk
legitimate
about that's
question.
not?
Hey, folks on YouTube, I live here, I've lived here longer than this guy, and he can't even
I
talk
can't
to
even
me.
hear you.
I'll talk
I
to
can't
Charlie
hear.
and see if we can't get some stuff.
Has a discussion ever come up, a study of consolidating the cities of Long Lake and Orono? That would
20
resolve the.
20 years ago,
problem.
actually
There was a vote on it.
24 years ago, they actually voted on it, and Orono said yes, and Long Lake said no.
Maybe it's time to reconsider.
Long Lake's not interested, and unfortunately, that's what Walsh is kind of trying to force right here, is he's trying to run Long Lake out of money, so that they'll be forced to join, so that Orono can have its Met Council low-income housing it doesn't have.
Yeah.
That's exactly what's going
I'm
on
not
here.
here to listen to you or you. I hear
I don't
enough.
give a shit.
I don't care who you're,
What are you gonna do about it?
Huh?
What do you wanna do
I
about
live
it?
here. What do you wanna do about it? Let's go. Come on, I'm your Huckleberry. Come on, tough guy. Yeah, no, dude, I'm game, bud. No, I ain't backing up. I'm game. I'm game, tough guy.
Come on.
All you do is rant and snap.
Really?
I'm your Huckleberry, don't worry. Oh, fat boy.
Mr.
Bring
Mayor,
it.
I have some
Bring
more
it.
You're gonna have
questions
Bring
or
it.
comments.
Come on. Let's take a nice walk outside.
Come on.
Come on.
All right.
Come on.
obviously-
I don't care what
Come on,
they're
no, come on,
doing.
tough guy.
cold.
Come
No,
on.
I want to hear.
Come on. No, you guys don't. All you guys want to do is like, come on, tough
Throw
guy.
up.
Come on, let's.
Come on.
Throw up.
Come on.
I'll
I'm
Who
game.
is this guy?
I'm
Who
game.
are you?
Mr. Mayor, I have a question to go back in
I'm
here.
game. You sit here and
Game,
threaten,
what you
you
are.
threaten, you make all kinds of tough guy remarks.
All right,
You're a
guys.
badass boy.
If you really want to
You're
go down
bad.
this road, guys,
Come on.
You know what, I'm not here to
Listen
listen
to
to
you,
you.
see what
You're
happens.
pushing me.
guys,
You wanna go to jail?
is the decision you're making right now the right one?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, you're a real tough guy, aren't you?
Try me.
You're a real tough guy.
Try me right there.
Oh, I'm game.
All right.
Swing, guys. Swing.
I didn't get up. out
Look,
of
I
my
listened to
chair.
your mouth
I don't give a
after
fuck.
each and every council meeting.
Good for you.
Some of the things you say are good.
What's
but
your
when you get
goddamn
into
name? Who
Cass
are you?
Holloway.
Oh.
Got it?
I do now.
You're bad.
Come on.
You're
sit-
tough.
Hey, let's sit
Yeah,
down.
you're
Great
tough.
YouTube.
Threatening people that ain't
All I
good.
gotta say is it's
Fucking
great
come
YouTube.
back. I'm here, boy. I'm here.
You see a boy knock him out.
Boy.
Knock him out.
Hey,
Boy,
come on.
Knock him out.
Little baby boy.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Come on.
Fucking
sit
pussy.
down.
I'll walk outside. You wanna fucking walk? Come on, dude.
Sit there.
Come on. You and Nygaard are nothing but mouth, man. Mouth.
What are you?
You just sit here and threaten.
Talk
Come
about
in here,
comedy.
big voice, big man. Oh yeah, you're gonna big man.
You don't even know what's going
Yeah,
on
I
up
do,
here.
but I can't
No, you
get it
don't.
because all you do is sit here and talk.
You don't know what's
Fucking
going on up
mouth.
here.
Mouth.
You don't know what's going on up here.
Wah, 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 wah.
If you knew, you wouldn't be sticking your fat fucking face in the stage.
Anytime, anytime. You're real tough, yeah, with people that ain't gonna come back. Yeah.
Yeah.
You wanna do it?
Watching nothing.
Come on, bring your fat ass outside.
Someone's gonna get hurt.
Somebody is gonna get hurt.
Cut it out, you guys. Come on.
Fuck you.
Come on, stop, it, both of you, Christ's sake. We've done it 40 years ago, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Cass what? Cass Huckleberry?
What, yeah,
Yeah. Fuckleberry.
yeah, you're tough.
Dingleberry.
You're tough.
Tom
Thanks.
Sutton.
Tom Cass Holloway. Yeah, yeah, you got this.
Don't go out there with them.
God, this is just crazy. And I agree with a lot of what you're saying.
You have no idea
I
what's
do.
going on up here.
Ben?
And
Well,
but
we're
what
not
you do is
gonna
you
resolve
cross
it
over,
to
you
what
attack his
goddamn
family,
meeting
you
he
bring
knows
that up.
everything
I never
that's going
attacked
on.
his
You did.
family.
You have no reason to do
I
that,
did
Jay.
not attack
And
his
here's the thing,
family.
like I said,
He
I
attacked
listened-
his family and
I
has
did
been
not
over a
attack his
decade.
family. This guy is just a total non-entity. This guy's just a
You
mouth.
don't even know who the
You
fuck I am.
I agree with.
You don't
on
even
a lot
know
of what
who
you're
I
saying
am.
and doing. You. But man, you don't have to come so hard at him all the time, do you?
Yeah,
You know what? I'll tell you what.
Till he's
I'll tell
gone.
you what. I would be more than happy to sit down with you in a public place, a coffee shop,
Yes.
and then I'd be more than happy to explain to
Yeah, I
you
would
what's
listen to
happened
you.
to my family.
Okay, that I'll take because some of it I had alluded to. I've heard some. Of it.
Here's my business
I would be
card.
happy to
Send
meet
me an email. I'll sit down at Caribou or wherever with you, and we can
you.
talk.
Anytime you want to dance, I'm game.
Oh, you're a fucking
I'm
fan.
game.
I'll kick
I'm
your
game.
ass till the
You
fucking
say?
cows come
You
home.
say?
tape.
I'll wipe the goddamn floor.
What's
with
that
your
gonna
fucking
resolve?
stupid ugly ass. You have no idea what's going on up
You
here.
say?
Hi, I'm Chris.
Hi, Chris.
Yeah.
What's your name?
Cass Holloway.
Who the fuck I am.
You mind if we just go somewhere else?
No.
Well, no, I need you to go somewhere.
Well, folks, that's the most explosive coffee with the mayor we've had. And it's a little disturbing, not just because someone got so upset, but I think it's disturbing that we got a mayor who absolutely refuses to listen to property owners. You heard him. I don't even hear you talk. And business owners in this community when he is out there spending his money, their money. Well, didn't expect what happened today, but there it is, folks. Although it did give Weasel Walsh an easy out instead of having to answer
Well,
questions.
That's the problem.
Turbine
They
guy,
didn't
signed it
resolve
off.
anything.
Well, unfortunately, there is no resolving anything.
Who is this guy? Who is this guy?